You are listening to episode 131 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we go on a Viking rampage and throw our balls into an alien's mouth in this week's Double Inflation Deflation Challenge!
Wow. Quite a lot. I was not expecting that we were going to throw our balls into an alien's mouth, but that really does catch the audience right there.
You wouldn't know you didn't get 7 million points, John. My balls were all up in that alien's mouth.
Well, my balls are in there, but just not as long. So Double Inflation Challenge this week, or Inflation Deflation Challenge, I should say. We played some The Legend of Valkyrie, or The Valkyrie, on the PC Engine. And we had no idea what was going on outside of Corn Fairies. And we also played some Alien Crush on TurboGrafx. So
couldn't get enough of that TurboGrafx Mini last time.
Dude, it's by far, I think my favorite mini console.
Dude, I had such a good time with these games. Every game that we played on here has been, rock solid.
Yeah, it's been good stuff. It's a shame that the console just was not as, a success as it could have been.
Yeah.
And I love it, dude. I said it last time, I'm kind of disappointed I sold my PC or my TurboGrafx Duo. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, man, I got this Mini and it's got some solid games on it. I'm enjoying them.
You can always find another one later.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so let's get started with our weekly pickups. I see you have on here Nada.
I am returned to my non-purchasing ways.
I have returned to my purchasing ways, kind of. Actually, really a lot. So this week, not a whole lot of big pickup. Well, not a whole lot of huge pickups in terms of quantity. But I picked up Daymare 1998 on the PlayStation 4. So I remember it was Corpse Flood Gaming. So I think Jason played this a while back. And he turned me on to the idea of buying this one. But it recently went on sale for $12 on Amazon new. So I figured, why not? He enjoyed it. Why can't I? The other stuff I picked up were the Tome of the Beasts 1 and 2, which are D&D books by Kobold Press. And, these things are huge, dude. They're those,
tomes.
For anybody that hasn't seen these in the past, when you were in school and you had your giant ass math textbook.
It's exactly what they look like.
It's exactly what it looks like, but it's, and the same type of paper and everything. It's just got D&D monsters. I think that's a better trade-off of textbooks over life. Go with that instead of your math textbooks. I'm not going to use algebra, but I'll definitely use that.
Right.
So I picked those up. I'm really excited to kind of dig into those. The campaign that I'm running right now, Descent into Avernus, it's going really well. Players are having fun, and I want to try and expand a bit in terms of the creatures that, I throw towards them and do a little more side questy type of stuff. And I think this will kind of help in that range. The other item I got was my big pickup that I had mentioned the other day that I was bidding on, The Devil's Third on the Wii U.
I can't believe you got such a...
I can't believe I spent that much money. So I picked up Devil's Third. I'm ashamed to say how much, but I picked up a sealed copy. And I'm, as much as it pains me to say this, I'm going to get it graded. It's one of those games that it is in a position where it's genuinely rare. Mm-hmm. It's not, and it's, kind of picture if you picked up a copy of the game back during the Super Nintendo era, for example, that had 500 copies made or less than 1,000 copies made. Would you get that graded now? You probably would. And would it be worth a lot of money? It probably would. So this is more of perspective, a perspective purchase and grading, knowing that The Devil's Third is just a genuinely rare game. There weren't a whole lot of copies made. It wasn't a critical success.
It's an outlandish game.
It's an outlandish game. It's a mature rated game on the Wii U, which is already, I don't know how many mature rated games outside of
There's a handful.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot.
Game.
Not a whole lot of games though. Very small handful. It's a third party release that was exclusive to Nintendo, and if that studio goes under, which I'm not sure if they have yet, or if there's any chance in sight that they do go under, there's no way Nintendo is going to remake this game. They probably own all the rights to it. It's just one of those unique situations that I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump on it now because the last thing I want to do, and we're going to talk about this a little more in the next episode when we start talking about PSP, is I don't want to run into a situation down the road where I'm like, I could have had this for several $100, and now it's like close to $1,000 for the same exact thing I could have purchased years before. And if I have the opportunity to do it, why not? So that's kind of that mindset I've always been in. If you have a chance to buy something, you really want it, don't let it escape you. Just go ahead and pick it up, because you're going to probably regret it down the road when you can't pick it up at a lower price point, because it's going to have gone up, and then you might be in a situation where you can't afford it. So that's really where I was at with this dude. But like I said, it pains me to have to go to like Wada Games to get something graded, but I'm going to do it. It's going to look flippin' sweet. Like I said, it's brand new, sealed, looks fantastic. I'll go through a light cleaning route and everything else, put the extra like $90 or $80, whatever it costs to get it graded and fully set up. And just, it'll
Does
be
that
kind of
come
this,
with the box?
Yeah, everything. So Wada has like UV protection on their games. They have like if it scores above like a 9, they have like this blue shield symbol that they throw on it that it's a 9, and a whole bunch of information on it there. And then they do like light cleaning, I guess. So they have like, I guess, professional graders that take your game and like the plastic on the outside, remove any sort of fingerprints, anything that could like.
How do you get that job?
Right? Like that'd be pretty sweet. Like all you do is clean video games for a living. But yeah, so that's pretty much what they do. And it comes out to like, I want to say it's like $85. So I hate the fact that I spent that money, but it was credit card rewards money. And it was one of those things of, I've done so much on this flippin' house that I'm in now that I just wanted to reward myself in some sort of way, outside, the fact that I got a new house. But, something gaming wise, because I really haven't done something like that in a very long time.
Like that in a while.
Yeah.
You've done big pickups, but they've been a lot of turn and burn.
Yeah, and not even necessarily turn and burn. I've got some big pickups and picked up some good quality games that I've wanted. And I've picked up expensive games, but I never put like the full value towards a game like this before. And I probably won't ever.
Buying a copy of like Wonder Boy or something crazy.
Yeah, it's like finding, it's not like finding it necessarily because you buy it online. But if you do look at like eBay sales and such, this game has a lot of PAL copies out there, but like the North American copy of this game, just there wasn't a lot made. So I mean, you might have 3 new copies that are online at one time being sold, and then like a couple used copies here and there. But God knows how many of these games had used copies that were opened up. Yeah. Like if you figure like say only 1,000 were made due to pre-orders or whatever issue occurred. I mean, and I'm spitting out numbers out of my ass in a sense, right? Because I don't know exactly how many copies of this game were made. I just know that it's not a very common game. And if you figure if there was 1,000 copies and they had 500 pre-orders, how many of those pre-orders were actively opened?
Is this game easily emulatable?
I don't know.
Because
I mean, probably
if it's not, then you've got a lot more incentive for people that are owning it to play it, because there's not an alternate method to actually play it.
Well, here's the thing. It's a Wii U game, so yes, there would be ways to play it. People have probably already burned several copies. There's probably, ISO files sitting on the internet right now that you could pick up for this game. So it's not like you can't pick up a burned copy, but I mean, think about games that are on like GameCube or PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. Like all of those games have like ISO files, and you can rip those and put them on your console. Not condoning it and saying it's okay, but that type of stuff exists, but it still doesn't detract from the value of the actual physical game and what it is. So I'm stoked, dude. I think it's pretty cool. Like I haven't done this before, and I don't intend on doing this down the road. I don't intend on grading another game down the road. I don't see the point, but this one in particular, I think it's a pretty unique piece, and that's why I'm doing it. And in terms of playing, I haven't been playing anything, dude. It's been a month with no video games. I'm going absolutely insane right now. I want to finish Jade Cocoon. I want to play some Apex Legends. I want to start Conker's Bad Fur Day. All of my stuff, I mean, you saw upstairs, like it's all in boxes in the center of a flippin' loft. I've got my new shelves coming in, which I was so close the other day. I picked up brand new shelves and thought, cool, like let's go. I'm going to get this all done before Ryan gets here on Saturday, have it all set up, all these boxes out of the way, and it turns out I bought the wrong size. So I had to return 6 flipping shelves. The same UPS guy that dropped them off picked them up, and he's like, man, these are heavy. Like, I have to do this again? Like, he was just kind of, joking with me because it was literally the next day.
Picked the wrong day to be the UPS guy.
Seriously, man. So I ended up returning those. I hate that I have to go for like that birchwood color again because I want it black. But I'm going to have that birchwood color, and I've got, instead of 3 of those shelves, I now have 6 of those shelves total. So, I mean, we're pretty much doubling up the amount of available gaming shelving
So
that
you don't
I
have to have as many boxes in the garage like you had at the last place.
Yeah, like I'll probably be able to display all my Japanese games, all of my Super Famicom games.
And
that
I'll never
I've
be
got.
able to look at them while we're playing
Uh,
or doing recording.
I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe we move the podcast setup upstairs and we start recording up there. And we'll see. Regardless, though, when we play games, we'll be able to play with, like... So my vision is to have, one of those IKEA things like I talked about, and have various consoles inside. But my overall vision is to have two of those, like, shelves, like, side by side next to it to kind of give that full, like, view.
Yeah.
And then a TV, of course, in the center, some surrounding posters, maybe some arcade machines up there. And then the back loft is going to be, like, an additional 4 of those shelves. So, and then a couch directly in the center. So we're going to have, like... couch, bunch of games that we can kind of look at, games on the shelf we can look at, consoles already set up, like every console set up. I'll have the...
Yeah, we'll be doing the gaming up there instead of in here.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man. Like, I can't wait. And I'll probably keep, like, a couple mini consoles down here just to have them up here, or down here. But for the most part, I think it's going to be pretty sick, dude. Like, I'm stoked. And I don't know if you saw my board game shelf up there, too.
No.
Oh, dude, I'll show you that when we're done recording today. It's all coming together, and it looks super nice, and I can't wait to share pictures on our Instagram. Which, speaking of which, at the Game Deflators on Instagram and Facebook, and at Game Deflators on Twitter.
They don't like that.
They don't like that. And then check out the podcast applications that are out there for our podcast. If you don't like what you're listening to right now on Podcast Addict, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever podcasts are found. All right. You got nada, but did you play any more Resident Evil 8 after we discussed it last week?
Yeah, I played a little bit more. Man, I gotta beat this game. But it's like, I'm playing it with my wife, and she doesn't always want to play it. We also started watching like some anime this week, so it's like, I want to get through it, but I can't play it without her. I tried to start, actually, I had like an hour to kill, and I tried to start hardcore mode.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I couldn't even kill the first freaking werewolf zombie guy. Like
Really?
the very first enemy in the game. Like, I used my whole clip on him, and I tried like 6 or 7 times, and just like running around. Like, I think you gotta just know how to block well and always get headshots. But I was just like, dude, this is too hard. If I can't even drop the first guy, I don't even want to try doing this. So then I tried to do like a normal mode playthrough just so that I could play more of the game, because I wanted to play more, but I didn't want to get any further. And I missed some things, and I was like, maybe I have enough, like I could catch up while I'm waiting to finish the game, but keep playing it. But I had to go through like the whole beginning part. Like, it sucks. Like, this game has so much beginning stuff that you have to do before you actually start the game, and it's like some of it you can skip, some of it's like you got to walk, but you can't do anything else, and it's just like, it took forever. It killed most of the hour just trying to get to the point where I was like, okay, now I can do stuff.
Yeah.
And then by then I had to go. So I hope I can get done with it. I shouldn't have very much left in it. If I've got like 3 hours left in it or something. The last boss I did, was really awesome. I got a cool new gun. I don't know. It's a great game. Still super good. Still got to finish Mario. Still got to start Persona. Still got to finish Blue's Clues. Still, it's only May.
I can't wait to have that Blue's Clues set up there on your
Christmas.
TV, nonetheless, your TV. By the way, I'm considering buying another TV in the next year, like a 65-inch to go in here, and then I'll probably take the 55-inch and pop it up there. That should be pretty cool to have all that set up. I'm excited, which means you can probably take your old Vizio back.
Gosh, what would I even do with it?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the articles this week that we're going to be looking at and discussing. So the first one we're looking at is Nintendo promises many new software titles this year. The other one is going to be PS5 versus Xbox Series XS versus Switch sales comparison through May 1st sales. So a couple weeks ago, but we got some data on that. Apple Nintendo Switch rumors are probably just an Apple TV. So we'll get into that later as well. But of course, it's tied to Apple and potentially another console. And then, is NetherRealm's next fighting game a Marvel versus DC crossover? So that should be pretty cool. And then we'll, of course, cover our games this week and our inflation deflation. But the first one, Nintendo promises many software titles this year. This is by, I cannot see it, dude, Russell Zemarosa.
Oh, at gamezo.co.uk.
So this is basically kind of talking about Nintendo's momentum and releasing additional titles here in the coming year or this year to really kind of continue that steam that they've garnered. And we'll go into it a little more on those Switch sales comparison charts, but they sold a lot of consoles, and really at the end of the day, the best way to see those consoles continue to get sold is by releasing new titles to make things a little more exciting, right? So that might come in
draw on the people that still want to Switch but don't want Animal Crossing for some reason.
Yeah, so Animal Crossing completely blew their numbers out of the water last year when it came out. They now got Monster Hunter Rise, right? That's getting a bunch of sales for them as well.
I saw a thing a couple of weeks ago, it might have been last week, saying that the top 10 games on Switch are all first-party Nintendo, I think, and they all have 10 million plus in sales.
Yeah, I mean,
it's you've got to really, really bring your A game to break into the top slot.
Yeah, so I mean, and they've got a lot of momentum going for them. So you had, of course, Animal Crossing last year. You've got Monster Hunter this year, and then
Mario 30th anniversary, the 3-pack that we got.
Yeah, we've got the Zelda,
which you can't buy anymore.
Yeah, the Zelda game. Well, yeah, I mean, you can still technically buy it. There's tons at my local Walmart for the Super All Stars and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Do they
how many
still
they
have the Game & Watches? Have those dropped? If those drop, I might buy one.
They're still $50, and I just saw 40 in a case at Walmart.
Yeah, if those things drop, I'll definitely buy one of those. Hopefully, I could get there before everybody else.
Well, I mean, just go to Walmart. It's down the road for me.
I want it to drop in price. I'm
not
going to buy one for $50.
It's probably not going to drop in price unless they clearance it, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure it out when it happens. But, I mean, a lot of momentum going. They'll probably have Breath of the Wild 2, potentially, I would say 2022, if not late 2021. We're going to see with E3 what they've got up their sleeves. And, I think once we see more titles coming for this console, it's who's going to stop Nintendo at that point? I mean, they've got such a huge install base right now compared to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X.
They can't make them fast enough. Nobody can make consoles fast enough to sell them, and the Switch is just so powerful still.
Yeah, it's blowing everything out of the water right now, and I wouldn't say it's a powerful console, but I would say that it's a popular console, and it's just pretty insane. So what are your thoughts on this overall?
So new titles. We got E3 this year. We got E3 right around the corner. We're going to start saying a lot of E's and a lot of 3's in the next few weeks, I anticipate. So that means new games, new announcements, hopefully a bunch of stuff from Nintendo. At the last Direct we had that little moment where it was like, you think I'm going to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, but I'm not going to. So we'll probably get some Breath of the Wild 2 news. I am really there with a lot of people. I want to hear about Metroid Prime 4. Don't think we're going to hear about Metroid Prime 4. Hope we get to hear about Metroid Prime Trilogy re-release for Switch to get everybody ready for 4, because I would buy the hell out of that for sure.
I mean, you can play my copy on Switch.
But it's not on Switch.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Metroid Prime Trilogy?
I'm pretty sure it is.
No, not yet.
Yeah, and that's why it's so expensive. Metroid Prime Trilogy, I'm pretty sure is on the Switch. I mean, not the Switch. Sorry, the Wii.
No, yeah, I know it's on the Wii.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, God, I'm mixing things up.
Yeah,
it's on the Wii, but no, future telling, it'll be on the Switch.
Yeah, it definitely will be. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking Wii I thought Wii in my head, and it came out as Switch when I was talking to you. So yeah, it is definitely on the Wii if you want to play my Wii copy.
I don't want to play with your Wii.
You don't want to play with my Wii?
No.
You just want to put your balls in an alien's mouth?
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that. What else could we get announcements from Nintendo that would be great for a new Switch release?
I mean, Breath of the Wild, of course, is going to be a big one. Hopefully...
there's talk about a new 2D Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
by the same team that did Odyssey.
No, not 2D. I saw some rumors of a Donkey Kong World.
Oh, 3D. Okay, yeah, 3D by the team that did Odyssey. That makes more sense.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to see something like that. I mean, it's really not my favorite, but I mean, dude, I would buy the hell out of another Donkey Kong game, no questions asked. That'd be a day one purchase for me. especially if there's a special edition.
The Mario Golf, the new one that should be coming out soon, that looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, I would say probably any new Final Fantasy titles that could potentially make their way to the Switch.
I'd like to see another Rabbids crossover. That Mario Rabbids was really good.
I wasn't a big fan of it. I have it. It's probably, what, $15 now? Like, it doesn't go for much money now. I do want to see another Rayman game, though. I love Rayman. I mean, I never thought I would, but...
Rayman for Smash, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, why? Like, well, Waluigi for... You know what? That's probably going to happen at E3. Waluigi.
Dude, that's what everybody says every E3, and it never happens, and it won't. This is going to be like the final Smash character announcements at E3 2 this year, I think.
If they don't bring Waluigi in as their final Smash, like, Nintendo's just got their priorities mixed up.
Right.
How do you bring in, like, Wario, but you have no Waluigi?
They'll probably bring in, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake Cloud.
Yeah, right. Final Fantasy VII Remake Cloud is like an additional skin.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody's like, we want Waluigi. Here's another skin of Luigi.
Yeah. Now you can make a me Luigi.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah. So I'm super excited, man. I can't wait to see what Nintendo puts out. This is probably like the most fun I've had with a Nintendo console in a very long time. And if you were to listen back to prior episodes, it might actually, probably not prior episodes. It might have been before the Switch came on, before we were doing this podcast. I was probably shitting all over the Switch. Now I'm just like super excited about it.
The
like
Nintendo NX.
Yeah, God, man, it's nice. I love it. Like, it's such a great console, and I don't get to play it enough, which is kind of disappointing. So I think that might be a goal this year, even though we're like almost midway through, is going to be to play a few more of those Nintendo Switch games that I have.
Yeah.
Kind of go from there. I still need to play Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild's great. Never beat it.
Yeah, well, of course you didn't, because you're Ryan. All right.
I commented on some dudes on Twitter. He posted something about like some game he didn't beat, and I was like, dude, me neither.
You're like, I tried it, and that was it. It was done. Okay, so our next article here is the PS5 versus Xbox Series XS versus Switch sales comparison charts through May 1st. And this is by William D'Angelo of VG Charts. We can kind of brush into this one. We don't have to go super deep into the article, but basically sales figures are like 2-to-1 almost for the PlayStation 5 over to Series X and S.
I'll run through them.
Oh, okay, go through the pricing.
So numbers for 2020 for the
2021.
2021 up through May for year to date. PS5 3,649,688 consoles. Xbox S/S 1,782,692, and Nintendo Switch 7,833,000.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah,
like,
so it's each one is a factor of 2. So you've got twice as many Switches as PS5s, twice as many PS5s as Xboxes. So there's like 4 times as many.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this I would think it comes down to production issues, of course, but I mean, Nintendo's having the same type of production issues that everybody else is, yet they're selling a ton more consoles. It could be, you know, maybe they're able to produce them faster. Maybe
cheaper
they had
chips, older chips, not like as the
Yeah.
high demand ones.
I'm thinking that could be a factor. There's probably, you know, they had a stockpile of Switches, you know, ready to go before the pandemic hit. You know, like there's a lot of possibilities there, but you know, Sony and Microsoft have not been able to pump out the amount of consoles they want. I'm still going to stick with it and say this is probably Microsoft's last home console. Based on these types of figures, the fact that they're getting beat out 2-to-1 in 2021 so far by Sony is not a good sign for them. And that's a global basis, right? Or is that just US?
No, I'm pretty sure this is global numbers.
Yeah, so that's pretty rough, you know, no, that can't be just global, because I thought Sony sold more than that in the year. Regardless, I mean, even if it's on a US basis.
No, representing the global sales.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's insane. The fact
It's
that
crazy that there's not even 2 million Xboxes between the S and the Series X out there. Like,
well, that's just for 2021. So you would have to consider November, December, how many they sold, but the figure wasn't on there. I was looking earlier. Regardless, Nintendo has, like, if you were to just kind of say PS5 versus XS and a Nintendo Switch, they have like what, a 70% hold on the market right now between those consoles. And yeah, Nintendo is technically last gen, but the fact that it's still selling 7 million consoles compared to 3.5 million and 1.7 million of the other two is just phenomenal for a console that is technically out of date
Well,
in terms of its technology.
Yeah, we've been talking already. Like, it feels like we're starting to get to that point. Remember that crazy point where I was getting so frustrated that every week we were talking about, like, the PS5 is coming. We're going to see all the cool stuff they're going to do with it, but we don't know what it looks like or how much it costs yet or when the release date is. And it's just going to be that. Like, we're already in that hype cycle for,
Whatever's
like, I was
next.
looking back at Spawn Wave this week, and every single, like, thumbnail that they had a Switch in it somewhere. Even if it wasn't the main thing they were talking about, because everything's about, like, the new Switch Pro. Like, every rumor, every time somebody says, like, new LCD, somebody jumps out of a bush and is like, there's going to be a new LCD screen on the Switch. And it's just like, oh my gosh, man. Like, let's just chill. Let's play let's get some new games. We'll worry about the Pro when it is actually happening.
Can you just imagine, like, somebody's just sitting on the side of the road or in a park talking, or just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna buy this, like, new monitor. It's got this LCD screen. Somebody comes out, did you say LCD? Did you say Switch? No, I didn't. Nintendo's gonna have an LCD Switch.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a cool thing though regarding the PS5. So we don't have it listed here, but I was reading another article that says that, like, the adoption rate of a PlayStation 5 is phenomenal compared to that of the PS4, and they attribute a lot of that to the fact that there is that backwards compatibility, so it's making the transition much easier to go in. But the other cool thing in another article I read is that Sony currently has 25 PlayStation Studios games in development, and
I heard about that.
they said, like, half of them are new IPs.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's promising.
Yeah, that is really promising for PlayStation console. And, unless they start porting them over to PC, which, of course, we saw, with a few of these, like Horizon Zero Dawn, and I think, was God of War one of them?
No.
Okay, no, it wasn't. But you have Horizon Zero Dawn. It's supposed to be going over to PC, or already has, as well as just some other titles that have kind of hit over there. Like MLB's Show was a different situation, but, that's
the funniest one.
Yeah,
still.
that is really the funniest one. But yeah, so I think it's going to be pretty promising. There's a lot of games that you're only going to be able to play on PlayStation. I mean, if you've got 25 games, potentially 12 to 13 of those being new IPs, that's a lot of promise for a console, and it shows Sony's dedication to getting those good games on their console.
Yeah.
So I think it's right there with Nintendo in terms of, in-house quality titles, something Microsoft has yet to really achieve. And I think their sales kind of show for that too. I mean, some people they'd rather play Microsoft games on the PC. Mm-hmm. And, and we've talked about how Microsoft understands that. Like, they know that their console's not going to sell a ton, and they're likely looking towards the future.
We know that they don't make any money off their consoles. There was, like, did we talk about that last week? Or
we did.
I know I read about, like, they are not making any money on any consoles, basically, that they've ever sold.
Yeah,
They admitted that they've just lost money on every console.
Well, yeah, but I think Sony's like that too. And I don't know about Nintendo taking a loss on consoles.
Well, I remember when...
But Sony's taking a loss right now.
PS3 became profitable in its, like, 7th year.
Yeah.
And, like, Nintendo always sells old technology so they can profit.
Yeah, so usually with, like, Sony in the past, it's been more of an adoption rate aspect. Like, let's get as many people as we can. Let's put it as cheap as we can.
Xbox is a game service now.
Yeah, that's kind of what they formed into. And, they've got so much money anyways. Like, for them to take a loss in their Xbox division, like, even
it's
if they
just
were
a way to sell people Game Pass. And
Yeah.
eventually, if they sign up to Game Pass long enough, they pay for the console.
Yeah, even if they took a loss of like $100 per console, it's what, $200 million of losses tied to that. But how much are they gaining in subscription fees, and how much are they gaining in?
You buy one game in Xbox Live, and you've made up that difference.
Yeah, so I think for them it's a different type of method, right? And Sony's kind of transitioning to that in a way as well. But yeah, I mean, game consoles taking a loss is not abnormal. I mean, it's pretty standard, I think, nowadays, and has been for a number of years. Okay, our next rumor mill item here. Those are actually a lot of truth. These are more rumor items here. Apple Nintendo Switch rumors are probably just an Apple TV. And this is Sacha Segan at PC Mag. And so this one kind of dives into the fact that there were some tweets that were made recently by some sort of leaker who was claiming that Apple was going to be creating some sort of like handheld device that would be similar to the Switch. There's not a whole lot here. It does even say, like, this is a sketchy rumor, but I would say there could be some truth to that, right? So they do have their iPads, they do have their iPhones, and there's a lot of handheld gaming that could kind of come from that. What would stop Apple from just taking an iPad and, I don't know, cutting off like an inch here or there and turning it into something that looks like a Switch, throw an Apple Arcade on it and being like, we made a game console, and all the Apple fanboys and fangirls eating it up?
Because I just don't think that that's how that would work. Like, the people that have an iPad and an iPhone, like, that's what they're there for. Like, they're not really there to play games. Like, for a long time, Mac was the place where it's like, well, you can't get many games for Mac. Like, I don't really know what it's like now. I know Apple Arcade is doing pretty well for itself, and I know that they're making strides to get stuff, but like, I just don't see why they would be interested in trying to make a dedicated gaming device when, like, this quite possibly could be the second to last generation of consoles. It seems pretty late in the cycle when everybody else is trying to get into cloud gaming, and you've already got Apple Arcade. Like,
well, it wouldn't be like, here's what I'm saying. Like, Apple creates some really stupid crap that people just buy up anyways, right? Because it's got the Apple logo on it. So I wouldn't put it past...
Those kind of people aren't going to carry a dedicated portable gaming device.
But what if it wasn't? What if all it was like an iPhone that's been stretched and has peripherals that can be added to it? So you're talking new potential iPhone with dedicated peripherals that can be tied to it to make a gaming device tied to Apple Arcade as like the main hub, or some new
then you just
screen.
You just make like one of those controllers that has a clip for your phone.
I get it, but like,
you already have the phone component. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they tried doing the iTouch, which was like a almost iPhone. It just couldn't do the calling part. And they got rid of that like pretty fast because like they realized, who wants a dumbed down version? Like, the point of having a dedicated gaming device is that that's what it does. And I just don't see Apple ever making a product that doesn't do everything that every other Apple thing does. Like, if it's not also basically an iPad,
but that's what I'm saying,
a phone,
dude. That's what I'm saying.
Why would they make it?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd basically be taking an iPad, scaling it down, so it's still an iPad. It's still going to do the same functionality.
But then it's not.
But it's promoted as like some sort of gaming device with the ability to do certain things. Like, maybe it could stream to Apple TV. Maybe it has the ability to take calls, like video calls.
But why would you want, like, if you already have a phone?
I'm not saying why would I want it. I'm just saying I wouldn't put it past Apple to release something like that and Apple fans to eat it up. I mean, you're talking people that will wait in line, flipping 3 blocks to buy a $2,000 phone.
Those people are going to have a phone that they're going to carry with them. Like, those people aren't going to have like a Switch with an Apple logo and be pulling it out and playing it, because they're probably not those type of people anyways.
Or they might be. I mean, it's one of those things that I'm not saying it's true, and I'm not saying it's going to happen.
It's too late. I'm
just saying
Microsoft was the last person that gets to get into gaming on a physical level. Like, Google went straight for Stadia.
You gonna leave Sega out of the water? Come on now.
Sega was before Microsoft got in.
They can come back. The rise of a phoenix. Sega will come back.
They're going to get bought by Microsoft.
No, they won't. There's no way that happens. No way Sega gets purchased by... Maybe a partnership, but not a full-blown purchase. The Japanese government would never let something like that happen, dude. No way. But yeah, like I said, man, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just wouldn't put it past something like this to happen, and Apple fans eating up. Even if it was a cosmic failure, the fact that it could potentially happen, I could see Apple fans lining up to get something like that just because it's Apple. It's the only reason, dude.
Yeah, but everything else they do has such a mass appeal, and that's such a niche appeal.
Yeah, I get it. Like, I totally get it. But if you were to...
Like, how many iPhones have they sold? Like, they've got to have sold way more iPhones.
It's like 1 billion or something, or more.
People that have bought the Switch.
Yeah, no, I know. They've sold... But think about it.
They don't want to do Switch numbers.
Okay,
they already do way better numbers than that.
Consider this. If 1 billion iPhones are sold globally, okay?
Make video games available on that already used install base. Why create a new device those people have to buy again to start? Because
if even 200 million people buy it and you're able to turn a profit, and then you don't support it several years from now because you consider it a failure, you're still making money on it. But
it's way better. Like, I just want good cloud streaming on the iPad. The
I know.
iPad looks amazing, and it's a great size. Like, if everybody that already has an iPad, you could just hook a controller up to it and play games on, there's no need to make another device that only some people are going to buy when everybody that already has an iPad is a controller away from playing whatever games you're going to try to stream.
All I'm saying is don't put it past Apple to take advantage of their fans because of their Apple logo.
No, you're wrong, John. You're wrong.
We'll see. We'll see. Again, sketchy rumor. Okay. Well, let us know what you think about this this stupid rumor. But I mean, come on. We didn't think a Switch Lite was going to happen, and it happened. So, yeah. Okay. Next is NetherRealm's next fighting game a Marvel versus DC crossover, and that is Jacob Cresswell at what is that, CBR?
Yeah,
that's what I see. Okay, cool. So
I say no.
You say no. Okay.
I say no. I think that Marvel and DC are obviously two sides of the same coin. But I just don't see in like today's modern day them being in like a crossover video game when like they're so wildly different and like how successful they are in other places. Like I feel like it would be beneath Marvel at this point with how successful they are to try to do something with DC and give them any kind of like competitive credit or comeback, even though it's like I know that there's probably, I would like to think that there's not that kind of animosity. Like I'm sure the people who work at Marvel love Batman and read Superman, and you know they're not like, well, I only do Marvel stuff because I'm Marvel. That's more of a fan thing to do, but like I just don't see how you would do it. Like Marvel vs. Capcom is so light, actiony, you know, quick, fast, and then like Injustice is like definitely like a heavier, darker kind of game. Like where would you meet? Would you darken Marvel? Would you lighten DC?
I think you'd have to darken Marvel, and the reason I bring that up is so anybody that doesn't know about this particular studio, NetherRealm, they do the Mortal Kombat games.
Yeah.
And so they do Injustice and the Mortal Kombat versus DC and all of that, right? So they've done crossovers in the past, and their head of their studio, Ed Boon, I think it is, had a tweet recently that people are suspecting to be most likely some sort of like Marvel DC crossover based on some of the tweets.
Kind of hints and throwing out all kinds of stuff, trying to stir up the hornet's nest.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see this happening, and the reason I could see it happening is there's probably that animosity, of course, because of like Spider-Man and Sony and all of that, right? But this is different because, you know, Warner Brothers, I think, owns NetherRealm, I think is what we had mentioned a while back, and they've done like Marvel games, like released through Warner Brothers. So like the Lego Marvel games, for example, have come through Warner Brothers Studios and those developers. So it wouldn't surprise me for that kind of in-between to potentially make some sort of crossover. And Marvel Game Studios, who manages a lot of those titles and have done like, I think it was Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom, they've kind of dealt with that,
they
process.
They had to take over because they can't let like the other like rest of the Marvel Studios be in control. Like it had a negative effect on that game because they were trying to keep the portrayals in line with like either the MCU or something, and it caused some problems. So now all of their gaming titles are managed by like a Marvel Game Studios.
Yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities to see some sort of like DC and Marvel crossover. Like, haven't we had comic book crossovers like this in years past?
I mean, I'm sure that the comic books have done it.
So then why?
I'm just not that hardcore of a fan to know what those are, but I have a feeling those are always probably like a free single issue comic book day kind of thing, and not like a whole in-depth like year-long story where like Batman and Tony Stark are teaming up. Like I can't imagine they work together that long and intertwine those universes deeply enough to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, you've got things like in the past like Marvel Zombies, and DC has like their own like zombie type thing that came out in recent years. So I mean, they've both had like that dark kind of entry, and DC's actually gone more dark over the years. But to do like a fighting game, I would think you would have to have no blood, They probably wouldn't allow that. No sort of gore. It would have to be straight up like superhero fighting game. And it's not, like I said, it's not out of the realm of never realm and out of the realm, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities for something like this to happen. I just think there would be a lot of like politics involved between the two organizations to come to an agreement on how they want to handle things.
I have a way better idea.
And what is that?
Smash Bros, but with comics. Like all different comics, not just Marvel and DC. Like, give me some Spawn in there. Give me like some manga characters in there. Just like a whole crossover, like all different comics. Throw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in there. You know, like really buff it out and have like a huge roster representing all the different comics. That I could see.
That'd be a lot of publications and companies
It'd be a
trying
ton
to
of
get
licensing, but I think that would be way cooler and way more successful than like a Marvel versus DC fighting game. Because like, as far as I know, it's hard to come out with like a breakout new fighting game. Like, BlazBlue is the last one. Like, I'm not super well versed. BlazBlue is the last one I know that was like a huge, like, came onto the fighting game scene and was able to like actually establish itself among like, you know, the Guilty Gear and Street Fighter and Tekken and all the same things that have had like 8 or 9 entries.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Injustice, for example, has had like, you know,
I think there's 2 Injustice
There's
games.
2, and they say that there might be a third one coming up here pretty soon. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw a third one coming up based on these tweets, but if it is indeed like a Marvel versus DC, I don't think it would be so hard to kind of crack into, you know, getting that to be sold. It might not sell so well on a, you know, a tournament basis and getting people excited to play in tournaments, but I think it'd be pretty.
I think it would just be like a one-time game. I don't know that it would lead to some series. It would have to be really successful.
And you'd have to have like storylines and all this other crazy stuff. I don't know, dude. Like, it would be interesting to see something like this happen. The chances of it happening are potentially slim, but I think it'd be pretty cool overall. Like, who knows? There's a lot that can happen. It's 2021, right?
Right.
All right. Inflation, deflation. So this is Valkyrie no Densetsu, or no, what is it? No, I can't see from here.
Valkyrie no Densetsu.
No Densetsu. Or The Legend of the Valkyrie. And this is developed by Namco, published by Namco, and I cannot see a designer.
So the designer, I was trying to look it up because it doesn't have it listed in the usual place on the wiki. It said that it was the creation of Namco artist Hiroshi Fuji and a designer known only by the pseudonym of Koakuman.
That's awesome.
That's what it says. So I'm not sure who Koakuman is, and I tried to Google who Koakuman was, and I tried to autocorrect to some manga or anime called something else with close spelling.
It was released, and Koakuman, I guess, made it back in August of 1990. And it is, well, you have it as platform here, but I saw it as more of like a hack and slash RPG.
It says platform on there. It's like an adventure platform, hack and slash. It's very much like...
it's like Zelda or Pocky and Rocky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So mixed reviews between 4 and 7 out of 10.
It's an arcadey game.
Yeah.
This is the non-arcade version of it.
Yeah. And so this game, even though we said The Legend of the Valkyrie, it's technically all in Japanese, the entire game. Outside of like Pogo ad at some point, and then like start and continue. And a few things here and there, and like A, B, and C. For the most part, it's all Japanese. So the
PC Engine.
Yeah, the most we got out of this, and there is a wiki on it, so you can kind of read up on it, but apparently there's like some fields that need to be replenished, and you have to find like this golden seed and insert in this fountain, and it's supposed to help these crops grow, and like your goal is
were
you
reading up on it?
I was, actually.
Okay, so we weren't too far off with corn fairies.
Yeah, we weren't too far off. So the first battle we had, we got some like corn thing, and Ryan's like, it's a corn fairy. And then there's like this old lady, and there's this frog guy, and it's...
Sometimes you make up your own fun. If you can't read Japanese, just make up your own fun.
So our story and how we interpret it is we were trying to find a corn fairy for the frogman in the game. We found a corn fairy, gave it to him, and old lady was jealous that she did not get a corn fairy. So later on, as we were progressing through the game and beat several bosses... we ended up coming across old lady again in a cavern, and she was like, what item do you want, A, B, or C? And we chose B, and we got nothing. Our assumption was because she hadn't gotten a corn fairy after 2 battles, she didn't want to give us anything in return for our adventure. But pretty cool game. I mean, I kind of would akin it to like a shoot 'em up hack and slash RPG, because like as you're progressing, you pick up different abilities. So like you start with your standard slashing, and then your wind slash, and then your
you get like different
thing.
projectiles that come out of your sword.
At some point, you get like these golden shuriken blades that like follow the enemy and make things super easy. But then Ryan at some point picked up like some laser blast thing that really just kind of screwed things up for us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't progress much further. But yeah, I mean, dude, like the music in it was great. The gameplay was good, controlled very well.
The graphics were so good. It reminds me so much of like Shovel Knight. The way that it looks, like I've been so blown away by the TurboGrafx Mini PC Engine games. Like they look fantastic, they sound great, like they control well. I love the feel of the controller's good.
Yeah, this is like
the jump was awesome. I really like the jump in this game.
Definitely one of my favorite minis, if not my favorite mini console that I've purchased. Absolutely love the games on here. If you haven't picked one up, you've got to pick one of these things up. Like it's just good. It's like it's good fun. A lot of great titles on there. There's some RPGs in there, like Ease 1 and 2 I think is on there. Like why not? Like it's totally worth it. So yeah, what are your overall thoughts on Corn Fairy and Frogman and Old Lady?
You know, we had no idea what we were really going to play. We just knew we wanted to take a look at a couple different games, and I was just like, I don't know, the box art on this one looks good, and it was just great. Like, I would totally play through that game. I think that would have been an awesome game to grow up having. I think that, you know, it does everything really well. I mean, the enemy variety is like what you expect from a game of that era, but like it's still not just like a walk through the park easy, and it's not like Nintendo hard or anything. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So
maybe even more so that I didn't understand.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, like you could probably pick up guides and stuff on this type of thing, and it'll just kind of walk you through your options. It just depends on the popularity of the game. But I had a blast, so I thought it was cool. So complete in box on this is running at $49.63. It peaked at, what was it, $87.91 back in December of 2019. And looks like it's just kind of holding place right now. A loose copy will run you at $46.62, and it peaked at $46.68 back in actually April of this year, and that's also holding. So, you know, I think at this price point for this old of a game, I mean, this is a Japanese release, so technically it's probably not going to get as much, like, you know, increases in sales here in the U.S. As most, you know, U.S.-based games would have, or North American titles. But I would think that if you, for one thing, can read Japanese, or you can find yourself a guide that walks through each individual area and just kind of tells you what's being said by those NPCs throughout the game. I mean, dude, at $49.63 for a complete in box TurboGrafx game, or in this case, PC Engine game, I think that's on
Not
par.
bad.
I think that's worth it. Like,
if I was in Japan and I was at like Super Potato and I saw that game and I was like, oh man, that's that game. Oh, it's in the box. Oh, it's only $50. And I had like a PC Engine, I'd buy it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a decent price for what this is. I mean, and maybe it's just the fact that it feels so old. Like when you play the game on the mini console, it shows like the chip being like slid in like a little animation, and it's like I've never even held one of those chips. Like, it feels like ancient technology.
I should have had you play it. Well, I guess it was sold during the pandemic, and we weren't really doing like a ton of recordings, so I get it. But yeah, I should have had you like play the original. I do have some of the original games still, so I kept some of the RPGs. Yeah, so I think just right. I think you're saying just right as well. So let's put our rating in as just right. The next game that we had is
we did not expect this either.
Yeah, no, this is actually pretty interesting. So this one was Alien Crush. It looks like it was done by, is that Compile?
Yeah.
Is a developer, and then published by NEC or Naxit Soft. I think NEC is actually the ones that published the TurboGrafx and TurboGrafx Duo, if if I'm correct. Because it was like NEC TurboGrafx is what I remember having. Couldn't find a designer on this, but it was released in August of 1989. It is a pinball game. I was expecting some sort of like horror shooter type game when I loaded this up. And it
kind of is. It's horrible, and you have to shoot balls into an alien's mouth.
You have to put your balls in the alien's mouth, according to you. So reception is a 7 out of 10 on this game. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was not expecting pinball. So when the pinball stuff came up, I was like, okay, pinball. This is not anywhere near what I thought I was going to be playing. Like, I was seriously thinking like shoot 'em up, Contra style, like run and gun, like that. Maybe even a platformer. Like,
you were thinking Alien 3, not Pokemon
yeah,
Pinball.
Yeah, Pokemon. Yeah, right. So like, definitely wasn't thinking this, but I didn't mind it. Like, the music was pretty cool. I played on slow mode because I just want to get a feel for it, which I got like 1.7 million on slow to your like 200,000. I didn't try it on fast though, so I kind of wonder if there's a point boost for playing it on fast. But it's got, like, from what we saw, I guess is like 2 levels that you can play, different type, like a couple of types of music on there, I believe. And you're just in this one screen that potentially opens up into like bonus levels. So if you go into one of the aliens' mouths, it opens up a bonus level with like these separate bosses that you can try and destroy if you're, your pinball, and get bonus points and progress back to where you were. And so I think for me, in playing this game, it was cool for a while, and then after a bit, I'm like, there's no long-term playability here. I mean, it's a pinball game, and technically, if you're a big pinball fan and you, say, owned a pinball machine, you might always play that same pinball machine because you enjoy it. And it kind of led me back to, like, you remember, like, on the PC, like, the Starship pinball that used to be on, like, Microsoft? Yeah. It didn't remind me exactly of that,
Cadet.
But, yeah.
I want a physical version of Space Cadet.
That'd be pretty so awesome. But, like, for me, I just kind of looked at it. It brought me back to those days of playing Space Cadet and only having that one stage and not playing any other stages. And to me, it was like, yeah, that was really cool back then, but that's, like, all I had. I didn't have, like, a crazy game console that I wanted to play, and I always want to play Space Cadet because it was new and cool. But after a while, it just kind of died off of me, right? And I haven't played it since. I would see this in the same type of setting for me. It's cool because you've got all these crazy features and it's pinball and you're killing aliens and gathering your points and whatnot, but it just doesn't have that long-term playability for me. And that's what I kind of seek in a game like this, is if it had different stages, like more so than just 1 to 2, if
any
it had
kind of unlock system.
Yeah, which, I mean, we didn't get far enough into it to determine if there's an unlock system, but it just didn't seem to me like there will be while playing this. And I'm interested to hear what you thought overall on this, if you kind of share that same mentality with me in regard to like pinball games of this nature.
I saw something earlier this week that reminded me or made me think of Pokemon Pinball, and so I kind of already had that in the brain. So as soon as we booted this up and it was pinball, I was like, oh, sweet, I get my fix. And because I really liked when we did Pokemon Pinball, but at least that had 2 stages, and it had like interesting goals of like trying to collect the Pokemon and stuff. So there was a lot more going on with those games. Obviously, this is a much older game, but I still think graphically it looked great. The sounds were really good. I was still had a really good time playing it. Like when we were doing the slow mode, yeah, I got like 200,000 points, but then I switched to the fast mode and I played for a while and I got like 7.5 million points, and it was like, I was in the zone. Like, I was having a great time. I do really enjoy digital pinball games. I like physical pinball games too, but it definitely makes me want to play some more Pokemon pinball or some Kirby pinball or whatever, Tilt and Tumble. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's fun. I liked it. I would definitely play it again.
Well, let's look at the brass tacks here, man. So $48.94 for complete in box copy. Peaked at $99 in February of 2017. It's holding at that same price point it's got now at the $48.94. Loose $34.10, peaked at $34.10 this month actually, and it's trending up. So I think this is inflated, to be honest. Like, there's not a lot going for it. Yes, it looks good.
It's TurboGrafx inflated. It's just because it's a TurboGrafx game.
But even so, is it like, I've played some 3DO games that were like complete dog crap and they were like low priced. I think yeah, it's inflated because it's TurboGrafx, but at the same time, it's just a pinball game. It's not like Pokemon Pinball's not that expensive, if I recall.
No, I don't think so.
Like most pinball games aren't, so I don't think this is anything special. You know, just the fact that it's TurboGrafx, cool, but and the collecting aspect of it. So I guess like if you were collecting TurboGrafx and you didn't have it, $49.94.
You're gonna pay what you need to.
Yeah, you're gonna pay what you need to, right? $49.94 might be a bargain, but I mean, technically speaking, if I had a TurboGrafx and I was just wanting to play like different types of games, I wouldn't spend $49 in a complete in-box copy of this, let alone $34. I might pay $25, you know, just because it's TurboGrafx, but nothing more than that. Honestly, I'd be hard-pressed to even spend $25 on it. Obviously, I would if I found it for $25 and could sell it for $50.
There's a whole
but...
series of these games, actually. There's like Devil's Crush and Jockey Crush, and like there's a whole series of them. So this might not even be the best or most affordable version. Who knows?
Yeah.
I didn't really look up the prices on those others, but like I think if you're the type of person that this game appeals to, you know, you're into Alien, like the xenomorph aesthetic and stuff, it's got a lot of stuff like that. And if you're a pinball person, then this is definitely the game for you. It's not a game for everybody. It's more of a niche collector or you know, anybody trying to get all the TurboGrafx stuff. But I still liked it. I still thought, you know, everything about the game design itself was fine. It's obviously an early game, so it doesn't have a lot of additional features or extra stuff. But yeah, I would say that it's overpriced as well.
Yeah, definitely agree there. All right, so this one is a rating of inflated this week. Man, we have got to get the GameDeflators.com updated, dude. We've got to put our games up there that we've reviewed. Luckily, we have a new process for every time we talk about a game, and we kind of mark it down here on our notes, and then we can always just refer back to it. But hopefully, you know, once this house is situated, that might be an opportunity for me to like sit back and like finally dig into that website. I update it every week in terms of our podcast, but I don't jump in and do like all of the nitty gritty stuff.
We got to do backlog stuff.
Yeah, we got to do some backlog stuff on there, but and it doesn't help that I prep a lot of D&D stuff during the week too. So it's like prepping D&D, painting areas of a house I need to finish up, plus still flipping, unpacking, and needing to do this website. So let alone all the podcast stuff we got to do. So it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on. But we hope you guys enjoyed episode 131 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.